All right, welcome. This video is going to talk about dividing a whole number by a fraction. We're going to look at some models here and using those models as well as some other tricks to know how to divide with fractions. So we've started basically on page 88 talking about regular division. Okay, probably a review. But 12 divided by 3, we can visualize that with a model. We're drawing 12 circles. And then you can group them into threes by circling 3 at a time, and then counting how many groups you made. All right, and no surprise here, we have 4 groups of 3. And the number line model, kind of the same idea. You draw a number line from 0 to 12, and then you skip count, basically, by threes until you get all the way to 12, and then you count how many times you skipped, or how many arches there are here. And there are 4, so it's 4 groups of 3. So in other words, 12 divided by 3 is 4. And again, no surprises there. But it's sometimes good to look at models of numbers that we know really well before we get into numbers that we don't know so well. All right, so here we go. 2 divided by 1/2. All right, so I kind of color-coded this because I wanted you to see that this 2 is represented by these 2 whole circles. And then when I divide it by 1/2, I'm cutting them into halves. Okay, hence the red line. Now, I want to be very clear. This is not dividing it in half. All right, that would be 2 divided by 2, or 2 over 2. See the difference? 2 divided by a half and 2 divided in half are 2 different things. They're very similar, but they're very different. All right, so this is 2 divided by 1/2. All right, so we take our 2 whole circles and we cut them into halves, and then we count how many pieces we have. We have 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the answer to 2 divided by 1/2 is 4. Same thing over here with our number line. So we have 2 whole, and if I count by halves, 1/2, 1 whole, 1 and 1/2, 2 whole, I skip 4 times. All right, so either way, 2 divided by 1/2 is 4. Then we put it into practice. All right. It said, for the situation, to first estimate the answer. I told you we didn't really need to worry about that this time, but then we draw a diagram and then the appropriate number sentence. All right, so we drew 4 circles here because there's 4 cups of trail mix, and then we divided them into halves. So just like we did on the previous page, we basically cut this into half pieces and count them. We get 8 servings. All right. So 4 divided by 1/2 equals 8. All right, then we tried a few others. There's 4 whole in blue, and then we broke them into 4s. Okay, and then we count our pieces. If we count all of these, there are 16 servings altogether. So 4 divided by 1/4 is 16. And last but not least, we had 4 boxes, just showing you could draw it a different way. You don't have to do circles, you can do rectangles, and then break them into 3 pieces each. We would have 12 total pieces, 12 servings. All right, then we were asking, do you notice a pattern? All right, well, a lot of you saw that if we take the denominator, this 2, and we multiplied it by the whole number, we would get our answer of 8. So it works. 2 times 4 equals 8. 4 times 4 is 16, and 3 times 4 is 12. All right, so we said if you multiply the denominator by, that's supposed to be the word by, the whole number, then you get your answer. Okay, but does this work all the time? If you notice, each one of our fractions had a 1 as the numerator. The top number here is 1. So 1/4, 1/3, and so on. So will that work when it's not? So for example, 4 cups of trail mix cut into 2/3. So this is a little bit trickier to group, but if you still draw your 4 boxes, and then we break them into thirds, so here's a 3, here's 3, here's 3, here's 3, we want to group 2 of these thirds together, okay, not each one being a serving. It takes 2/3 of a cup to be a serving. So here's 2, here's 2, here's 2, here's 2, 2 more, and 2 more, for a total of 6 servings. So our number sentence would look like 4 divided by 2/3 equals 6. Okay, and then we can do this with fifths. Just make sure you break them all into fifths, and then you group them by 2. All right, and we get 10 servings. Because 4 divided by 2/5 equals 10. Now, the pattern kind of start to see it emerging here. It's very much related to this pattern, except we need to do one more step. We can do 5 times 4, and we get 20. Okay, that's how many little pieces we are here, but I don't want each piece to represent a serving. I need 2 of them in this situation to be a serving. So when I group them in 2, I'm basically taking these 20 pieces and dividing them by 2. And then here, I'm taking 5 times 4, which is 20, and then I'm grouping them in 4s, and I would have 5 groups, 5 servings. So our pattern is multiply the denominator, so 5 times 4 by the whole number, and then divide by the numerator. So 5 times 4 is 20, divided by 4 would be 5. Or 5 times 4, which is 20, divided by 2 would be 10. Okay? Same thing here. 7 times 4 is 28, divided by 4, it gets us back to 7. Now, the other way to do this is what we call the reciprocal. Okay, look at this 4 over 7 right here. If I flip this, or turn it upside down, so to speak, instead of 4 sevenths, it would be 7 fourths. Now, why does this help us? Well, it's going to allow us to do this pattern right here. Because when I multiply, I'm going to multiply 4 times 7, which is what I was supposed to do, and then divide by my denominator, 4. All right? So this is going to mathematically set me up a little bit better than this rule here. All right? But we're going to talk more about this tomorrow. So don't panic about this whole reciprocal thing. All right? If it doesn't make sense, we'll work on it some more tomorrow. All right, but let's jump to our assignment here. Okay, you're supposed to work on this worksheet. Notice we embedded a little reminder of what page you can find help. So on page 89, we looked at a problem very similar to this. So if you have 3 cups, notice my 3 boxes here, and I broke them into 4s. How many students can be served? So how many servings are there in total? Again, it's very similar to what we did on page 89. All right, and again, we're going to do a model on number 2. And then let's look at 3, because again, we just barely touched on reciprocal. All right, you may not have even those notes unless you watch the video, because not every hour did we get into the notes as much detail as this video gets into. So how do we do this? Well, we could use our pattern. We could do 4 times 8, which is what I show here in green, and then divide it by 3. So 4 times 8 is 32 divided by 3. Doesn't go evenly, does it? So we come over here, and we put 32 in here and divide it by 3. 3 goes into 32 10 times, and 2 left over. And remember, when we're dealing with fractions, the remainder gets put over the denominator. So it would be 10 and 2/3 would be our answer. All right? We could have also done this with the reciprocal. We could have also done 8 times 4 over 3. All right, but the idea again is we're going to multiply this number times this number, so 5 times 10, and then divide it by 2, and that would be our answer. All right, for this last section, this is a review. Look at page 86. If you get a little bit lost, we're multiplying across the top, multiplying across the bottom, simplifying if we need to. All right, because it does say to do that here. And then remember, if it's a mixed number, we change it to an improper fraction first. Then multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. Here you have 2 mixed numbers, so make sure you turn them into improper fractions first. In case you forget, multiply this number times this number, so you have 2 times 2, which is 4, and add this number. It's a 1. Now don't get this mixed up with what we're doing up here, because see, this is division, this is just a mixed number. Okay? This 2 represents 2 whole, which is 2 2s. 2 over 2. So 2 times 2, which is 4, plus 1, which would be 5 over 2. All right? So hopefully this this video is somewhat helpful. I'm tired. It's the end of the day. Hope this video is helpful. Please watch as much as you need to. And thanks for coming to the website for help. Bye.